It was supposed to be just another busy day for billionaire Nate Langston until he got a call that would change everything. "Dad, come get me." But here's the thing, he didn't have any kids. What happened next will leave you speechless. Stay tuned to find out how one phone call turned his world upside down. Please, before we start this story, support us by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and tell us where you're watching from. We love to hear your thoughts. It was just after 9 p.m. when Nathaniel Nate Whitmore settled into his leather recliner in his penthouse overlooking downtown Chicago. The billionaire real estate mogul had just closed a major waterfront development deal and was looking forward to an evening of rare peace. A glass of scotch in one hand and the city skyline before him, he let out a long, satisfied sigh. For a man who'd built an empire from scratch, Nate had it all, except family. He'd never married, never had children. His life was structured, controlled, and predictable. That's exactly how he liked it. Until the phone rang. It wasn't his business line, nor his assistant's number. It was his personal cell. Almost nobody called him on it. He glanced at the unknown number, frowned, and answered out of mild curiosity. "Hello?" There was silence. Then a voice. Young, shaky, desperate. "Dad? Dad, is that you? Please, come get me." Nate froze. "What? Who is this?" I don't know where I am. It's cold. There's a train station. I'm scared." The line crackled. The boy's voice sounded like it couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. But what chilled Nate to the bone wasn't the distress. It was the voice itself. It sounded familiar. Hauntingly so. "Who gave you this number?" Nate asked, standing now, his pulse quickening. "I didn't. I found it. I found your card in my backpack. It had your name on it and your number. Please come. I think something's wrong with my mom." Before Nate could say anything else, the line went dead. He stood there, stunned, the silence in his penthouse now suffocating. He checked the call log. No name, just a number. He dialed back. It rang 3 times before a robotic voice said the number was no longer in service. Nate Whitmore wasn't a man who spooked easily, but the voice had stirred something deep inside him, something he didn't know he'd buried. Was this some prank? A scam? But why would a kid be involved? And that voice, it sounded eerily close to his own when he was that age. That thought unsettled him more than he cared to admit. He paced the room, his mind racing. Then he remembered something. The boy had said there was a train station nearby. That narrowed it down a little. Chicago had dozens of train stops, but only a handful near residential zones where a child could plausibly be alone without raising alarms. Nate grabbed his coat and keys. He wasn't sure what he was chasing. Logic told him it was a hoax, but something deeper, something primal, told him he had to go. As his elevator descended to the garage, Nate dialed one more number. "Daryl, I need you to track a call that just came in. No questions. And get me street cams for every station on the south side. I think a kid's in trouble." "Yes, sir," his head of security answered instantly. Nate Whitmore drove with an urgency he hadn't felt in years. The city lights blurred past his windshield as he made his way toward the south side. The voice from the call echoed in his head, pleading, scared, calling him Dad. He'd dismissed plenty of strange messages before, but this one felt different. It clung to him like cold air. His phone buzzed. "Got something," said Daryl, his head of security. "A boy matching your description was caught on a CTA security cam 15 minutes ago. 63rd Street Station. He's alone. Looked around, sat on the bench, then vanished from the frame. Want me to call CPD? Number not yet. I'll go myself first. Just keep eyes on the feeds." "Copy that." The 63rd Street Station wasn't exactly welcoming at night. Dimly lit, mostly deserted, surrounded by shuttered businesses and flickering neon signs. Nate parked illegally just outside the station, ignoring the "no standing" sign. He stepped out, coat billowing in the wind, his leather shoes crunching on scattered gravel. The platform was empty. He scanned the area. No boy, no voices. Just the distant screech of a train leaving several blocks away. But then something caught his eye. A small navy blue backpack sat beside a bench. Nate approached slowly, cautiously. The bag was old with worn zippers and fraying straps. He bent down and unzipped it carefully, unsure what he was expecting to find. Inside were a few things: a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in wax paper, a plastic water bottle, and a folded paper. He opened the paper and his blood turned to ice. It was his business card, not the ones given to clients. This was the personal version, with his private number handwritten on the back in black ink. He stared at it. He hadn't handed one of these out in years. Suddenly, a noise behind him. Nate turned sharply. A man in his 50s with greasy hair and wearing a CTA maintenance uniform was walking the tracks nearby. He stopped and eyed Nate. "Hey, you lost?" the man asked. "I'm looking for a boy, about 8 or 9. Was seen here not long ago." The worker furrowed his brow. "Yeah, actually, I did see a kid earlier. Strange little guy. No adult with him. Was just sitting there humming to himself. Then he got up and ran into that alley." He pointed toward a narrow side street behind the platform. Figured someone was coming for him. Nate followed the direction of his finger, heart pounding. "Thank you." He jogged toward the alley, which was shadowy and damp, with dumpsters lining the walls. "Hello?" Nate called out. "Hey, kid, it's Nate. I got your call." No response. He was about to give up when he heard something. A soft sniffle. He turned and saw a small figure crouched behind a dumpster, arms wrapped tightly around his knees. The boy looked up slowly. Big brown eyes, messy dark hair. Something in that face. Nate's heart skipped a beat. There was a resemblance, a real one. The boy stood up slowly. Are you my dad?" Nate was speechless. How could this child look so much like him? Nate stared at the boy as if he were seeing a ghost. His breath caught in his throat, and for a moment, the only sound was the distant clang of a train passing through the night. The child, this wide-eyed, trembling boy, wasn't just similar to him. He looked exactly like Nate did in old photos from his childhood. Same shaped jaw, same crooked smile, even the same cleft in the chin. Nate took a step forward. "What's your name?" The boy hesitated, clutching his little backpack like a shield. Jordan Mitchell. I think that's my name." "You think?" Nate asked gently. "How old are you, Jordan?" 9, I think. "You said on the phone your mom was in trouble?" Jordan nodded slowly, eyes filling with tears. "She said if anything ever happened, I should call the man on the card. She said you'd help me, that you'd know what to do." Nate kneeled, lowering his voice. "Jordan, where is your mom now?" "She collapsed," he whispered. "She said she didn't feel good. Then she didn't get up. I tried to wake her. I called for help, but nobody listened. So I ran and remembered the card in my bag." Nate swallowed hard. "Where was this?" "An old apartment, near where we used to stay on Franklin. It's far." Nate stood up and pulled out his phone. "I'm going to help you, but first we need to find your mom. Can you take me to her?" Jordan looked down, hesitating. "You're really not my dad." Nate paused. "I don't know, Jordan. I really don't. But we'll figure this out together." He wrapped his coat around the boy and led him toward the car. As they drove, Jordan stared quietly out the window. Nate called Daryl again. "I found the kid. We're heading to a building on Franklin, but I don't know the exact address. Tell me what you can pull, records, hospitals, anything. His name's Jordan Mitchell." There was a pause on the line. "Sir, that's the same last name as a woman who sued you. Back in 2015, Nate blinked. What? I've never been sued by anyone named Mitchell." "It was sealed. Paternity claim dismissed. Settlement details redacted." Nate gripped the steering wheel. His memory scrambled through old deals, old relationships, old choices. Mitchell? That name. Could it be Ava? Ava Mitchell. They dated briefly in 2014. She was bright, fiercely independent, and had walked away when she realized Nate wasn't interested in a serious relationship. She disappeared after that. "Send me her last known address," Nate barked. Minutes later, they pulled up to a rundown building near Franklin Avenue. Peeling paint, broken windows. Nate felt a pang of guilt. It was the kind of neighborhood he had forgotten existed. Jordan led him up 2 flights of stairs, down a dark hallway, and stopped outside apartment 3B. He pushed the door open slowly. There on the floor lay a woman, pale, unconscious, her arm draped over her stomach. It was Ava. Nate rushed over, heart hammering. "Ava! Ava! No response!" He turned to Jordan. "Call 911, now!" Jordan obeyed, his hands shaking. As the sirens approached in the distance, Nate stared down at the woman he once let go, and the boy who just might be his son. Ava was rushed to Mercy General under flashing lights and the whine of sirens. Nate rode in the ambulance with her, while Jordan followed with Daryl in a black SUV. The entire time, Nate sat on the bench inside the ambulance, holding her hand, trying to connect the dots that refused to align in his mind. Ava looked weak, thinner than he remembered, her cheeks hollow, lips pale. She was barely conscious, mumbling incoherently under her breath. He squeezed her hand gently. "I'm here, Ava. Just hang on." By the time the doctor stabilized her, it was nearly 3 a.m. Nate sat with Jordan in the waiting area, both of them tired, yet wired with tension. Jordan curled up on one of the chairs, clutching a juice box a nurse had given him. A woman in scrubs approached. "You're listed as emergency contact?" she asked Nate. He nodded. "Yes." "She's resting. Severe exhaustion, malnourished. She'd collapsed from dehydration and stress. We're running more tests, but she's stable." "Can I see her?" The nurse nodded. "But just for a moment. She needs rest." Nate followed her into a quiet recovery room. Ava lay under thin white sheets, hooked to an IV. Her eyelids fluttered as he stepped inside. "Nate!" she rasped. He walked to her side. "Yeah, it's me." She tried to sit up but grimaced. "Jordan, fine," Nate said. "He's right outside. He called me, Ava, called me Dad." Tears formed at the corners of her eyes. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" She looked away. "You made it clear, Nate. Back then, you didn't want anything serious. I found out I was pregnant a month after you left. I thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want to trap you. I would have..." He started, then stopped. Would he have stayed? Really, in those days he'd been chasing wealth, not roots. She knew it. He knew it. Nate's chest tightened. He vaguely remembered the case. His lawyers had handled it. Told him not to worry. He hadn't even read the documents. A knock on the door. Jordan peeked in. "Mom!" Ava smiled weakly. "Hey, baby." Jordan ran to her side. Nate stood back, watching the scene unfold, his past colliding with his present. Later in the hallway, he pulled Daryl aside. "I want a DNA test. Quiet, discreet. You think he's really yours?" "I know he is," Nate said, glancing back toward the room. "But I need to make it official. For him. For her. For me." Back at the hospital lobby, Nate bought Jordan a snack from the vending machine. The boy looked up at him. "Are you going to leave again?" Nate crouched down. "I didn't know you existed, but now that I do, I'm not going anywhere." Jordan nodded slowly. "Good. 'Cause I think I need you." For the first time in years, Nate felt like a man who had more than just money. The DNA test came back 3 days later, quietly, just as Nate had instructed. Daryl handed him the envelope in Nate's office at Langston Industries, watching for a reaction. "Want me to stay?" Daryl asked. Nate shook his head. I need to do this alone." Once Daryl left, Nate stared at the envelope in his hand. He already knew what it said. Still, his palms were sweating. Finally, he tore it open. 99.98% probability of paternity. Jordan was his son. He leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. The truth was now carved into paper, and there was no unseeing it. For the first time, Nate Langston, the man who had spent his life outmaneuvering rivals and ducking commitment, felt a strange sense of peace. Later that afternoon, he returned to the hospital with a plan. Ava had been discharged that morning, and he found her and Jordan sitting outside on a wooden bench near the patient pickup area. Ava was bundled in a thrifted hoodie, her color slowly returning. Jordan was eating a cup of fruit. They looked like a family, his family. "Hey," Nate greeted as he approached. Jordan jumped up. "Nate, I mean, should I call you Dad now? Nate smiled. You can call me whatever feels right. But yeah, turns out I am your dad. Ava looked up sharply. You did a test? I needed confirmation, he said gently. But I already knew, the moment I saw his face. She didn't reply, just nodded slowly. I want you both to come stay at my place, Nate said, sitting down beside her. Not just for now. I mean, I want to be there for Jordan, for you. Let me help. Ava hesitated. I'm not looking for charity. It's not charity, he said. It's responsibility. It's family. Jordan beamed, then looked at his mom hopefully. Can we, Mom? Please? Ava looked at Nate. What's changed, Nate? I've been alone for so long, I forgot what connection feels like. You and Jordan, you reminded me. I'm not the same man I was 10 years ago. Back then, I ran from anything real. Now, I want something real more than anything. Ava studied him for a long moment. Okay, she whispered, but only if we take things one step at a time. Deal, Nate said, reaching out to shake her hand, but she surprised him by hugging him instead. That night they arrived at Nate's mansion, a sharp contrast to the cramped apartments and shelters they'd known. Jordan's eyes widened as he stepped through the doors. Is this your house? He gasped. Our house now, Nate replied, tousling his son's hair. Ava walked in slowly, overwhelmed. She glanced at the family portraits on the wall, Nate's parents, now gone, and an empty frame above the staircase. We need a new photo, Nate said, noticing her gaze. One with all of us. As Jordan ran up the stairs, excited to explore, Ava looked at Nate. You're really in this, huh? I'm all in, he said. For once, the billionaire, who had everything, finally found the one thing he never knew he needed, a reason to love and someone to love him back. Life changed fast for Jordan and Ava. Within a week, Jordan had a new room painted in his favorite colors, green and blue with superhero posters and a telescope by the window. Nate even enrolled him in Crest Hill Academy, one of the best private schools in the area. The staff welcomed him, especially once they realized who his father was. Ava, meanwhile, tried to adjust to her new life. Though grateful, she felt like a guest in a world too polished, too perfect. She wasn't used to silk sheets or marble kitchens. She still made her bed military tight and washed dishes by hand, even with 3 housekeepers on staff. One morning, she found Nate in the kitchen flipping pancakes. Since when do billionaires make breakfast? She teased. He shrugged. Since they find out they have a kid who loves chocolate chip pancakes and a woman worth waking up early for. Ava smiled but stayed guarded. Her heart still wore armor from the years of hardship, abandonment, and scraping by. You don't have to keep impressing me, Nate. I'm not after your money. I know that now, he said, handing her a plate. But I am trying to impress my son and earn a second chance with you. Later that day, Nate took Jordan to school while Ava had her first therapy session, something Nate gently encouraged to help her process everything she'd gone through. That same afternoon, Nate had a press conference downtown. He planned to announce a new tech initiative, but the reporters had other things on their minds. A bold reporter raised her hand. Mr. Langston, care to comment on the child you were seen picking up from Mercy General last week? Rumors say he called you Dad. Is there a paternity case we should know about? Nate stared at the cameras. The old Nate would have dodged the question, redirected, smiled and lied, but not this time. Yes, he said. That's my son, Jordan. I only just found out about him, and I'm proud to be his father. Murmurs filled the room. Flashes snapped. The headlines were already writing themselves. Back at the mansion, Ava watched the press conference live, holding her breath. The moment Nate said those words, her eyes welled up. He hadn't hidden them. He'd owned them, both her and Jordan. That night, Nate came home to the smell of roasted chicken. Ava had cooked. Figured you could use a home-cooked meal after that bomb you dropped on the world, she said. He sat down, took a bite, and grinned. You've officially ruined 5-star dining for me. They laughed. Jordan ran down from upstairs, waving his school art project. A drawing of a stick figure family holding hands, one tall man, one woman with long hair, and a boy with a cape. That's us, Jordan said proudly. My family. Ava looked at Nate, then at Jordan, and smiled. 6 months later, the Langston mansion didn't feel like a museum anymore. It felt like a home. Laughter echoed through the halls, Jordan's artwork filled the refrigerator door, and Nate no longer spent his evenings alone in his office with nothing but spreadsheets and silence. He had a son now, a curious, energetic, hilarious boy who called him Dad without hesitation. And he had Ava, steadily healing, cautiously hopeful, and the strongest woman Nate had ever known. One Saturday morning, Jordan came bounding into the living room, wearing a suit 3 sizes too big. "Where are you headed?" Nate asked, raising an eyebrow. Jordan straightened his imaginary tie. "I'm practicing for the wedding." Nate choked on his coffee. "Wedding?" Ava walked in behind him with a sheepish grin. "He's been asking questions ever since he saw those bridal magazines at the grocery store. He thinks we're supposed to get married." Nate glanced between them, then leaned forward. "What do you think, Ava?" Her smile faded slightly, replaced by something softer, deeper. "I think I've learned not to rush anything, but I also know when something's worth saying yes to." Nate got up, walked to the drawer by the fireplace, and pulled out a small velvet box. He'd been carrying it for weeks, waiting for the right moment. He knelt. Jordan gasped. "Wait, are you doing it now?" "I am," Nate said. "Ava Harper, you gave me the greatest gift of my life, our son. You also gave me back my heart. Will you marry me?" Ava's hands flew to her mouth. "Nate, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be now. I just want forever. With you. With both of you." Tears spilled down her cheeks. She knelt beside him, pulled him into a hug, and whispered, "Yes." Jordan screamed, leapt onto them both, and shouted, "We're going to be a real family." 3 months later, they held a simple wedding in the Langston Gardens. No media circus, no high society guest list. Just the 3 of them, a justice of the peace, and a few close friends who had seen Nate's transformation firsthand. Ava wore a white sundress, her hair flowing free. Nate wore a navy suit and a smile so wide it softened every line on his once hard-edged face. And Jordan, in his perfectly tailored tux, stood between them as they exchanged vows. After the ceremony, they walked together down the garden path, hand in hand, hearts full. For the first time in a long time, Nate Langston didn't feel like a billionaire. He felt like something better. A father, a husband, a man finally at peace. As the sun set behind their home, Jordan leaned against his dad on the porch swing and whispered, "Told you you'd be a great dad." Nate kissed his son's forehead. "You're the one who made me one." And with Ava's hand in his, he looked out at the horizon, knowing this wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning. Nate's life had been built on power and wealth, but it wasn't until Jordan came into his life that he truly understood what it meant to be rich. Rich in love, family, and second chances. With Ava by his side, he found a new purpose, one that no amount of money could buy. Together, they proved that sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones you least expect. If you enjoyed Nate and Ava's journey, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Share this video with someone who believes in second chances and the power of family. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.